When you're building a backup rig, ideally you don't want it to be a huge quality drop-off from your main rig. If anything, ideally, you'd want two really good interchangeable rigs, each with different strengths. So now that I've had some weeks with the Strymon Iridium, I found what is a default setting for me, and I want to do a head-to-head between the Strymon Iridium and the FM3. Now I could completely copy what I'm doing on my Iridium on my FM3 as far as amps, cabinets, etc., but I don't think that would service the point. I'll be using both these setups in the way that, at least for now, I would actually use them. Also, I should specify that for an original music gig where I got to do my thing, I would use more subtle changes. And I might not really ever use a super high gain setting. For a more versatility required gig, I know that I would want at least a clean, because that may be kind of gritty, a mid-gain thing, and then definitely like a high gain thing. And chances are I'll probably need a dotted eighth delay at some point. If you like what you see here today, please comment, like, subscribe. It really helps the channel and I appreciate it a lot. And check the links in the description for Patreon, Instagram, and Twitch for a bunch of other fun stuff. For the Strymon, I have it set to the round amp, which is the Fender setting, and I'm using cab B. It's a pretty clean tone, and I'll leave on a light gain Archer icon pedal to add a little bit of special character. For those of you that caught my pedalboard build video from a couple weeks back, I replaced the compressor on my board with an Archer icon. I would use the RC booster for a little bump in that cleanish tone in case I need a lead sound, but it would really be me just varying my attack to get a little more or less grit on the tone. So really it's a no-frills sound. The equivalent of this sound on my Fractal would be my clean and slightly dirty tones. As you can see from this signal chain, I have a little bit more going on with this sound as there is a compressor and an EQ. Let's take a listen to both back to back. Next up is the mid, or really just like general gain sound. This is the kind of gain that I would use for more standard rock, blues, etc. kind of songs. On my Strymon board, I'll be adding the Guthrie Trap overdrive after my Archer icon to get that sound. And then the RC booster would come in for any kind of lead situation. At the moment, I have the RC booster set to minimal additional gain as well as a little treble boost. That's a bit more customized than the way I boost on my Fractal. which is a volume block that raises everything about 3.5 decibels without EQing or adding any gain. Although it can be nice to know exactly how much I'm turning something up, which I can do on my Fractal, turning the knob on a pedal and just doing it by ear is how I did it before. I used modelers and nothing caught fire, so whatever. So again, for my Strymon board, it'll be going Archer Icon into Guthrie Trap Overdrive with the possibility of the RC booster showing up. On my Fractal, I'll have an amp that's turned pretty high up with a drive pedal in front of it to change the character a little bit. I generally have two options for this kind of sound: a more overdriven approach and a warmer fuzz kind of approach. Oftentimes I'll use the overdrive sound for kind of the rhythm thing, and then instead of boosting that signal, I'll switch over to the warmer, fuzzier sound so my high notes don't get too piercing. Let's take a listen to these two back to back. Last up is the heavier gain sounds. These tones have a special place in my heart for sure, although at this point I don't think they'd super align with what I would want to do in an original band situation. By the way, that distinction is an important one to make for yourself. My hero Eric Johnson uses clean, mid-gain, and heavy gain tones, but I had to look at kind of his tones and see what I did and go, do those tones fit what I do? The answer, at least for now, is generally no. Also, when it comes to high gain, there is quite a bit of difference between a drive pedal going into a Fender amp with a 1x12 cabinet and a drive pedal going into a Friedman with a 4x12 cabinet. I think it'd be this setting where the differences between the Strymon and Fractal approach are really clear. To be fair, I could use the Marshall setting with a 4x12 cab on the Strymon. Why I don't use that Marshall setting is because I don't want to hit a bunch of buttons just to get one sound, and then I honestly do like the way that Dude Overdrive sounds going into a Fender amp. So for my Strymon board, I'll go Archer Icon into the Dude Overdrive, and then for leads, I'll turn on the RC booster. Also, as far as reverb and delay goes, I generally like a room reverb, sometimes a plate, and then a 40 millisecond delay, and like a slapback, like 115, 125, 130 millisecond delay. Sometimes for like the super epic high gain tones, I would have quite a bit more delay and reverb. On my Strymon board, it would be a little bit more tap dancing to switch settings on my reverb and delay. For the Fractal, that'll happen automatically when I just change to the scene that has a bunch of reverb and delay. The order of events on the Fractal will be, I'll be going into a drive pedal that can change, into a Friedman with a 4x12 cab, and then an EQ block that's a bit different because there's a lot more bass with this sound. I'll usually use two scenes with this sound, sometimes to change the drive pedal, but definitely to change the reverb and delay. Let's hear those heavy gain sounds. So there's some of the differences between the approaches and sounds if you want to go Strymon or you want to go FM3. Honestly, I like them both, and I think you'll be making a good choice either way. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.